welcome back to the Fanboy Cantina. In this Fanboy Cantina live episode, we are talking about Hawkeye on Disney Plus and the first half of the series, 3 episodes out, and we are joined by Mr. C. Mr. C, how are you doing?
Feeling good, as always. Appreciating the opportunity to come to Fanboy Cantina and make the conversation. And then, in specific, giving your reactions to episode 3 that got me all the more excited to come on in and share our conversation through the cantina.
Awesome. And as we're chatting here live, yeah, if you're in the comments, if you're watching live, or if you're posting later, post in the comments. We always appreciate it.
Tally.
Uh, we've got some comments already in the chat. Supposed to be Hawkeye, but I think it says Eagle Eye. Yeah, but it came across as elbow cough in the at least in the. Okay, I don't know what that is. It's not a.
Wow.
It's not a.
Wow.
All right, that's fabulous. Okay, all right. So let's dive right in, Mr. C. So why don't we do it this way? What we'll cover is our overall impressions of the series, and then we'll talk about some of the. I've got some questions still about There's only three. It's only a 6 episode series, so there's a lot of story to cover in the remaining 3 episodes. So I want to cover some open questions, and then future plot points for the back half of the series. I think. All right. So, Mr. C, what are your overall impressions of the series?
My overall impressions of the series, it's definitely a let's go adventure. We're looking at the different things Disney Plus has done on the streaming service outside of the movie house, and just the different tone that each show has had, from Falcon and Winter Soldier and Vision and WandaVision. So this is such an action comedy, and I'm just along for the ride. I'm just enjoying it.
Yeah, I am really enjoying it. I think I'm really I'm gonna couch that a little bit. I'm really enjoying it after the third episode. I was a little tepid on the first episode. I think there are some cinematography elements that threw me off a little bit. Overall, though, I am really enjoying the series, and I think it's probably my favorite of the Disney Plus series thus far. I was not a big fan of What If as a series, which was surprising to me, but I'm really enjoying this one.
So I would then add in a detail to your point, the cinematography,
Yeah.
and let's make reference across the aisle to DC. And when the tagline for the Christopher Reeve Superman movie was, "You'll believe a man can fly," or I'm paraphrasing it, maybe I'm not nailing it exactly. But so now, with this cinematography of this Hawkeye series, I will believe that 2 people can hold on to one bow while they're flying or falling through the air and shoot arrows. It was just really well shot, and just the way everything weaves together, from action to plot point to historical reference, it's all really well integrated.
Yeah, yeah, and that scene happens in the third episode with. Yeah, just since I brought it up, the thing that was kind of throwing me off on the first one, on the first episode, was in that scene that happens. Okay, and so we're going to go all spoiler through this series. So if you have not seen any of the episodes yet, you might want to hit pause, come back later. It's okay. You won't hurt our feelings. All right. So with the first episode, where there's the fight that happens in the basement or wherever they are, uh, the way that is shot, it felt a little bit hard to follow. It felt a little not MCU-y for me. I liked the action. I liked the kind of Batman 66-ish kind of, uh, madcap kind of vibes, but it kind of threw me off a little bit. But then it just they're back in action on the third episode. I don't know if there was a different director. I guess I could have researched that ahead of time, but yeah, the first one kind of threw me off.
I think you're spot on to as though it didn't occur to me to strike similarities with the Adam West 66 Batman TV show. But at one point in that first episode, they definitely used a Dutch tilt camera angle. And maybe that wasn't necessarily for the battle. Maybe that was at a later point. But I was like, oh, wow, that's it was done in a more dramatic way as opposed to a highlight the farcical fighting that they had utilized in Batman. But it was just a really interesting, different use of the same technique.
Yeah. What were your feelings about Hawkeye as a character? I think we all kind of probably have the same vibes. But what was your feeling about Hawkeye as a character before getting into the series?
Well, so there's Hawkeye and there's Hawkeye. There's
Yeah.
Clint Barton Hawkeye and there's Kate Bishop Hawkeye. And so yeah, Clint Barton, he's not an A-lister, right? He's within the Avengers in the movies. He can't provide the same things that your Thor or your Hulk or your Iron Man can provide. He's a bit of a contrarian. So going into his comics depiction, he's in that not an alpha on the team. And so in the comic iteration, when it's Captain America, Quicksilver, Scarlet Witch, and Hawkeye, he's forever sniping at Captain America as in that, trying to go after whoever's the highest up on the mountain. So then he's in a sense a bit of a renegade, a bit similar to Wolverine. The Captain America Hawkeye dynamic is a bit similar to the Wolverine and Cyclops dynamic in the X-Men. But yeah, so he's not he's not at the top of the marquee, but he's definitely trying to assert and insert himself and find his place. So he's definitely an interesting character. And how would you answer your same question? What's your backstory with the Clint Barton iteration of Hawkeye?
Well, so my exposure has been through the movies, right? And he was just sort of also ran of the Avengers. You got the pantheon, right? You've got of Iron Man and Steve Rogers and Thor, right? These iconic superhuman characters. But then with Hawkeye, he's just a guy who can shoot arrows. In Age of Ultron, he even admits none of this makes sense. They're fighting robots, killer robots, and he's got bow and arrows. Yet it somehow still works. There's a grounding of that character that I do appreciate, but as in this this pantheon of heroes, yeah, kind of an also ran, just not a prominent character. But now through the series, he's far more interesting, and I think we got a little bit of depth to that character when you got to see his home life, right? You got to see that he does have a family, whole other dimension to the character. You got to see additional humanity to him in Endgame, right? But this is just, I think it's made a tertiary character far more interesting here.
Definitely tertiary is a fitting way to describe him. And then in taking a bit of a bridge from the comics and then a bridge from Clint Barton to Kate Bishop, around the time of his Hawkeye miniseries. At that time, he was a bit of a popular character, but one of the plot elements or story elements that they included then, that was issue 1, and now coming to issue 4. And I don't remember this being in the MCU previously, but right here, if we can see that through the battle that he had in issue 4 of his own comic, he had some hearing loss at that time. So that was, to me, interesting to see that interpretation onto the screen of giving him a hearing aid. And we can speak on the significance of that more as we continue the conversation. But I was like, oh, I thought it was an obscure, minute point to bring forward. But again, that's exactly the example of a very interesting interweaving of all the different elements of comic history. So now jumping from Clint on the page to Clint on the screen, and to comment on Kate Bishop in the screen, it was to me really interesting that they went back to referencing the Chitauri invasion and the first Avengers movie, from the point of view, the POV, the perspective, the what was young Kate Bishop seeing. And so she's there. And so let me comment on her in a second. But so in a world where Steve Rogers grew up and right, all the backstory around Steve Rogers, in a world in which Thor grew up, where Peter Parker grew up, all their history and environment influenced their character and their conditions. So now, as far as world building, in a world in which young little Kate Bishop sees Hawkeye just with his bow and arrow diving around, going against aliens, right? So right here is this tertiary guy, but he's standing up to this larger than life challenge and just full on engaged in it. In the process of doing that, he saves her little life, which leads to her immediately, shortly after that on the screen in episode 1, she wants archery training. She wants to get with a bow and arrow. And then I thought that was very clever in the opening credits of episode 1 to fill in her backstory without exposition. Here's her with the archery target. Here's her in some martial arts training. They just condense so much. And that way, when they bring you up to speed with her college age self, I was very impressed with the way in which they did that.
I was impressed as well. I have not read the Matt Fraction comics. I'm now eager to do so. But yeah, I thought it was expertly done. Otherwise, it would have been implausible, right? That somehow Kate Bishop is able to beat back all the bad guys and the tracksuit mafia. It wouldn't have made sense. But you got to see who she was before the Battle of New York. But then, yeah, her evolution that in the years that had followed. Yeah, it was very well done. It was very well done. You and I have both done martial arts, though, and so I kind of wondered, the whole everything, all of your plans, all of your training goes out the door once you get hit in the head, and so it's one thing to do fencing 1-to-1. It's one thing to do, other martial arts 1-to-1. There's rules. There's a format, and so when it's all no holds barred. Yeah, I wondered about that a little bit on how plausible that is, but it was believable enough for me.
Agree, and I'm glad that was on my list of things to ask, since you have that bit of that high school fencing background. Once it got to her fencing, so first she's having a verbal duel and then a staged fencing duel.
Mm-hmm.
What was your read on either the technique or the tone, either on the verbal part or on the actual fencing part?
Yeah, in reality, I was a human pincushion, right? There were probably worse fencers than me, but I was pretty terrible at it. I mean, I only did it because I had fun. It was good. And a friend of ours, his wife was a fencer too, and I may have actually seen her back in that time. But yeah, I was terrible at it. So the scene I thought was believable enough, and yeah, you can tell when she makes that comment of, why are you letting me win? You can tell, right? When it's obvious. So yeah, I thought that was that was actually a really smart call out. One thing in the chat, I'm going to bring it up here, Mr. C, with kudos. Mr. C with the purple shirt ties in with the OG Hawkeye outfit, and also, yeah, I'm wearing all black, and so maybe it's like I'm Ronin right here or something, right? With this is my Snake Eyes hoodie that I'm wearing.
Do you want to show the insignia?
Oh yeah,
as long
yeah.
as we're referencing?
I think we're struggling with which direction to show myself. Yeah.
So Snake Eyes is pretty similar character to Ronin.
Kinda.
And that was exactly the thing. Again, going back to reference, and thanks, Mr. Itahara, for guiding us in our chat. Definitely referencing the movies again to the later Avengers movie, the third one, and the fourth one, where Hawkeye had adopted the role of Ronin, again, taking a thing from the comics and reinterpreting it into a useful way onto the screen. At that point, he was in the more dark ninja garb, not in the purple. But again, if we're going to check out the good old classic Marvel Universe handbook.
There you go.
Oh, I'm not Havocs for another time and another day, but there's good old Hawkeye in his purple, and that's absolutely, I want to do a little tribute to him. Interesting color scheme and in Hawkeye's history in the comics. And again, so to date on the screen for Disney Plus, they have not referred to anyone as the swordsman, but for a guy who's got swords all over the place, is looking to buy a sword from the black market auction, the swordsman, who was in the original story before it was a bit retconned, was Hawkeye's trainer in archery from the circus. So when young Hawkeye, Clint Barton, and his brother run away and join the circus, then they're under the tutelage of the swordsman. So now to comment on the swordsman for a minute, I wanted to look. So previously, young Kate Bishop sees Hawkeye flying or falling through the air, doing heroic things, saving her life. So now here comes the tracksuit mafia interrupting, trying to steal from this underground auction. And what does the swordsman do? Well, he picks up the sword and he runs away. So now I don't know if diametrically opposed is a proper terminology to use right here, right now, but for sure they're pitting. Hawkeye had one set of reactions, and the swordsman's set of reactions were the exact opposite. He ran. He stole. Oh, here's an opportunity to steal. That was a very mustache twirling bad guy way to go. So giving him his magnificent mustache and making him a mustache twirler, which I think typically people are trying to avoid in their scripts and their production, but they made it work. Here he is mustache twirling and setting himself up in a more cowardly versus Hawkeye's heroic role.
I did not. Yeah, I'm not a fan of the Jack character. When I first saw him on the screen, I thought, oh, it's Snively Whiplash. That I think I texted that to you. It was just like the twirling mustache thing. Like, oh, come on. We already know dude is a bad guy because he looks like freaking 70s cartoon show bad guy, caricature. And yeah, since you showed the swordsman picture, okay, so maybe it's truer to that character. But yeah, I actually didn't like that his appearance, at least in the beginning.
Yeah.
We haven't talked about Echo yet. You and I both I got back into comics, I think because of you back then, because of the Marvel Knights series. That drew me back in. The artwork of David Mack and just the wonderful. Oh man, I'm blanking. Who wrote those stories? It was David Mack, right? Or
yeah, Mack. Well, funny you should ask, because here we are. Mack
there we
is
go.
the author, and Quesada and Palmiotti is the art team. And here is the first appearance of the character Echo, who is Maya Lopez, who just made her first appearance. Well, I suppose at the end of the second episode, but her first full-on appearance in episode 3. So she is again a very gifted fighter who's set against. Well, this is a Daredevil issue set against Daredevil. So it was again a juxtaposition, whereas the Daredevil character is blind and the Maya Lopez character is deaf. So now again, so picking back up on this minor detail of Hawkeye from the early 80s, that for a time his hearing was blown out. So now we have one character who can't hear engaging in battle with another character who can't hear. To me, that's a really interesting backstory. So it's mostly action comedy, but then there's still this seriousness very well inserted and interwoven into how the show is into the setup of the show.
Yeah, because of that introduction, right? The character in my head, although I've long since forgotten those stories now, in my head it's mashed up with Daredevil as a story. So using this as a vehicle for introducing Echo is fabulous, and perhaps much speculation that Charlie Cox is going to appear either here or somewhere else down the road, reintroducing the Daredevil character back again. Um, I mean, I don't remember that much about the Echo character from the comics, but I do remember enjoying the character. And I think the features or the attributes of this character, the first Native American, uh, at least as far as we know, first prominently a Native American character in the MCU. Um, Also, with the leg. It's wonderful to have that representation added to the MCU. I I do take a little bit of issue, right, in that here we have a woman of color, and she. Unless something happens eventually in the series, she appears to be mute or she doesn't talk. We know she's deaf. We know she's deaf, but she hasn't spoken yet. And it is kind of a trope that you see in other formats. You see that in the Suicide Squad with the Katana character. You see it in The Boys with which is actually the same actress. And I'm blanking on her on the character she plays. But yeah, she doesn't talk there either. But I think in terms of the representation, having people who people with disabilities. It's wonderful. It's wonderful to have in the MCU.
And then similar to how that small historical plot thread or plot point of Hawkeye not being able to hear. So in as the character is first coming on toward the end of episode 2, there's a music speaker and it's really loud. And if I'm remembering right, it's her hand is on the speaker, so she's getting the vibration of the speaker. And so again, a reworking from the David Mack written issue of Daredevil. Here's it. Well, we don't need to have the ad visible, but so there she is at the piano, and so again, the character had a very just like, oh, here's music to introduce the character in this format in the comic, and then here's music to help introduce the character on the screen. So instead of the piano, they're using the loudspeaker. But I was just again impressed that how does Kevin Feige and the team keep doing it? We're going to keep taking all these things, which is already an amazing, cool thing, and then rework it into a new, amazing, cool thing, all for your entertainment and enjoyment. Well, I guess that's why the name of the thing is Fanboy, because I'm just a fan of what they're doing.
Yeah. Uh, with I'm going to pivot to Hawkeye a little bit, or try to bring the two together. Um, Jeremy Renner is the same age as us
Yep.
as an actor, and we're not going to broadcast how old we are, but you could IMDb it and figure out how old we are. So that's cool. As the MCU moves along, X number of movies later, everybody's getting older, right? um, Mark Ruffalo, in the moment that you see him in another movie, I don't want to spoil the end credit bit, is you could see the gray hair off the on the edges. Um, so I like that with Hawkeye, we get to see our character's age, our hero's age, but also just like with the hearing aid, something that you and I haven't talked about myself. I don't think I've had tinnitus for as long as I can remember, and maybe not. I remember talking about it with somebody in my early 20s, but I have this perpetual ringing in my ear. It's kind of annoying. It's kind of terrible. And there's nothing one can do about it as far as I know. I've been trying to, experiment on myself recently of managing stress, maybe a little less caffeine and other stuff. But I like that with this character, in a way, speaking to an old guy, that here it's a hero with a hearing aid. I do not have a hearing aid. I did. I'm gonna. Yeah, no, I don't think it's necessary, but because I can hear. But I appreciated this. I appreciated the old guy representation in the MCU with Hawkeye. But, yeah.
Absolutely. It's again building relatable characters. Going back to Steve Rogers, at the time, Steve Rogers was supposed to be very relatable to many young Americans who wanted to actively participate in what was going on for World War II, and so whichever era the character is built, it's important to try to include some relatable elements. Oh, look, here's a comment.
Yeah, yeah. That's probably me pretty soon.
He might have a pouch in the quiver, with the bow and arrow quiver. There might be a pouch in there, but lanyard's a good other option for him.
Maybe a fanny pack too. I mean, why not add on, more pouches?
I could see that working.
All right, other things that we should talk about with first impressions of the first 3 episodes. What have we not covered?
Being set at Christmas, just a real quick, that was a neat. Okay. Being set at Christmas was a real neat element, and again, that dilemma of, does my superhero life interfere with my family life, and how do I put it all together? So that's a very real way to do that. A piece that was in episode 1 that had a kind of a similar thread to episode 2, the Captain Rogers, the Steve Rogers Broadway show. So somebody had to write out that song, block out the choreography for the stage, and whether it was the most complicated choreography in the world or not, it was still, and then there they are. Look at that. So costumes had to be designed, actors had to be hired, and then even the part of, who wasn't there, Ant-Man wasn't there. So just that was again, that was a lot of fun. That was very funny. That had me locked in. And then the corresponding piece in episode 2 was the NYC LARPers, the live action role players. So jumping ahead to Hawkeye still trying to claim back the Ronin uniform. And again, because it was a dangerous thing to have, and he doesn't want dangerous things to result from somebody having it. So the fact that he had to go into this medieval fair-ish, Dungeons and Dragons influenced, Tolkien influenced role-playing, costuming community, which has a lot of NYC firefighters and police in it, so we're told. That was, again, a lot of fun, and it was a bit of a side quest. I didn't think it was a wasteful side quest. I was on board. So it was interesting to have those 2 companion pieces from episode 1 and episode 2.
Yeah, with that one though, it threw me off a little bit, in that I think it's a felony where the guy, and he's a first responder committing a felony, stealing the ninja outfit, the Ronin ninja outfit, and then he kind of Hawkeye kind of just lets it go. Okay, I'll let you fake kill me in the LARPer thing. Yeah, well, it shows maybe what a kind soul or more forgiving soul Hawkeye actually is.
Yeah,
whatever it takes to get the suit back. All right, so let's talk about questions that are still remaining. The main one I think right now, it's a whodunit series, where right now the main question is who killed Armand. Any speculation that you have on who killed Armand?
I'm going to say it's the guy with the sword. I'm going to say it's the guy who was sitting next to him and dropping the so witty bomb of, oh, well, if I don't have that money, then maybe I'll just, I'm paraphrasing, inherit it. Ha ha, ha ha. I'm telling you right now, I'm going to inherit the money from you. And in about 20 to 30 minutes, I will stab you to death with a sword. Now that is totally a mustache twirling swordsman, snidely whiplash villain. So I'm going to go, it was the swordsman who put the sword in him.
I feel like that's like too obvious, that there must be a twisty twist or something that's coming out there. Dude has the butterscotch. Dude has a sword thing. It seems like it's screamingly obvious that it's him, so therefore it cannot be him. But I don't know who else it might be. And actually, that leads me to another one of the questions that I have from the series. In the first moments of the first episode, there's money problems within the Bishop family. And fast forward to today, all of that seems to have subsided. The mom is attending these charity benefits. There may be some side drama between Armand and the mom and the Bishop family, but somehow everything's been rectified. So what happened between that period and today that causes this money situation to completely evaporate?
And that I hesitate to speculate on. I think there's just that you've definitely identified the thing that's building, the mystery that's yet to be solved. I don't have enough clues to take a stab at it yet. But now we only have 3 more episodes
Three more episodes.
to put everything together. So, and we know there are certain things coming up, but we're still on this current point of topic. And the fact that if I was, I suppose you could.
Well, I mean, it's a name. I don't know. What would your superhero name be? And by the way, if you are watching us live, or if you're watching later, post in the comments. Love to hear from you. I have no idea what my superhero name would be.
We might have to take this one under consideration and come back next episode after we've had some time to contemplate on that one.
I feel like it would have to do something with the eye surgery that I had twice. I had the PRK surgery, which is different from LASIK. With the LASIK, they shoot the laser into your eye, and then somehow it all heals back, and then you could see. For me, I didn't qualify for that surgery, and instead I got PRK, where they remove the cornea off, and it grows back. And I did this twice. It's horrifying, actually. They give you a sedative so that you can't really register what the hell is going on with your eye. But I feel like it would be like laser eye or something. I think it would be something like that, because they still shoot a laser into your head. Yeah, that was probably way too much information this early on a Saturday. Anyway. Okay, so we talked about the money problem issue. I want to know about the watch. I mean, like the watch completely ignored episode 2 and 3.
So we had 3 items, right? We had a sword. We know what happened to the sword. Cowardly swordsman claimed the sword. We have a costume. Okay, we know what happened to the costume. But the watch.
What's the deal with the watch? We know from the tag it says Avengers Compound. I at one point I had to rewatch it, because at one point I was wondering, was it from the Battle of New York? Was it from Avengers Tower? With the Battle of New York at that point, in terms of Iron Man technology or Stark technology, he needs to put on a separate bracelet to activate, the assembling of the armor on him. By the time that we get to today or more recent times, I wonder, could it be an Iron Man suit that's activated out of that watch? I don't know.
That's the most likely thread to follow. I don't know if Steve Rogers or the Hulk or Thor or Ant-Man, I don't recall them having any kind of watch. So most likely guess it's something Stark Tech related.
Now I got to rewatch Endgame to see is there, is Tony Stark wearing that watch? That should be a easy enough kind of pickup.
I'm just clicking in, the light bulb just blinked right now. So if we followed from the previous Loki series, where Kang, the time traveling villain, was involved, and Kang will reappear in Ant-Man 3 again as a time traveling villain. So will the watch, or maybe it will, as they've woven together so many interesting little pieces, maybe that'll have some kind of feed into Ant-Man 3, or maybe not.
Very interesting. Okay. I had not even thought about that. That's cool. Last question that I have, maybe you have other questions here, Mr. C. The big deal about the suit, about the Ronin suit. I mean, we know Hawkeye becomes the Ronin, took down the criminal underworld, all of that. noted figure right now amongst that element and a target accordingly. Um, but I kind of don't. I don't think I understand the fixation on getting it back. I mean, on some level, right, doesn't want to fall into the wrong hands. And maybe that it's just that it feels like there's another element to it. But I don't know.
Well, speculating. Okay,
Yeah.
so Hawkeye, Clint Barton
Yep.
was Hawkeye, and then he became Ronin after the snap. So part of the result of the snap, besides, okay, so now let's layer up what's going on for Clint Barton. He is in the battle of his life as an Avenger. He sees his, as they identified, his best friend, his partner, Natasha Romanoff, the Black Widow, sacrifices herself.
Mhm.
And during his time, I'm a little bit out of the time sequence for this, but during his time, during the snap, his family, his entire family was taken from him. So he was clearly, as we've discussed, trauma's result on characters in our previous conversations. He was clearly bent. He was clearly in a very difficult way. So I think besides, on one hand, he doesn't want, anybody out there being inspired by that suit towards vigilantism. I think also now after the snap and after the fourth Avengers movie, after the end game, his family's back. So I don't think he wants to have any connection to that time in his life where his family was snapped out of existence. So he doesn't want any reminder of that. He just wants to bear. He didn't know the suit where it was, right? Clearly he wasn't keeping tabs on it. These whoever these collectors of these artifacts are had lifted it maybe from Avengers compound or somewhere else. So he's got that deep in his heart motivation to not relive the worst days and times of his life by seeing that suit in action.
That's very interesting. Yeah, there's definitely that trauma element that has that's here. That's a valid take. That's a valid take on why it may matter. Other questions that you have before outstanding questions that you have before we talk about the second half of the series yet to come.
I do have a question.
Okay.
Let me see. I know we have and we're not putting a spoiler alert up, but we don't have a pre-existing caution alert. But so we won't dive into too much detail into this brief scene that was in episode 1. But as we're not too much detail here. In the past, we have discussed public restroom etiquette. And in episode 1, we have, and he was billed as, I didn't remember, but he wasn't given a name. He was just like restroom guy or annoying Hawkeye in the bathroom guy asking for a selfie. So I just wanted to say, in general, without going into too much detail, as we've in the past discussed restroom etiquette, can you break down for us how this supporting character, in execution of the role of his character, was out of order in terms of bathroom etiquette?
Well, clearly, you should go, and there's a whole flow chart about this, about the decision tree when you are approaching the urinal wall. Which one do you go to? And if you go to the urinal, you go, and somebody's there, you go the furthest possible urinal. There's probably, I mean, it's a theater. There's probably another wall of urinals facing the other way. You don't go to the same one. And you sure as heck, you don't turn your head and start talking to a guy. It's just, why do that? Why do that? Yeah.
Yeah, and I guess, right, why do that? In the real world, there is no answer, but just within the story, again, to drive plot, Hawkeye's annoyed during the play. Hawkeye's annoyed that college-age girl stole his suit or is wearing his suit, and he's seeing it on the news. Hawkeye is annoyed that guys violating the protocol and standing right next to him in the restroom. And then also just another little, again, they're squeezing so many valuable things in there. The Thanos was right graffiti. Like if I'm Hawkeye and I'm just trying to make use of the restroom, I don't need to see graffiti that tells me Thanos is right. Again, especially because Thanos had snapped my family out of existence.
Right. Yeah.
All right, we can. Go ahead.
Don't cross the streams.
Don't cross the street. What's valid in Ghostbusters is also valid in Hawkeye and the real world. I suppose we can move on to our speculative of what else is coming up now.
All right. No, that was good. That was good. All right, so we'll put up the thing. Second half, spoilers and okay, I clearly can't get the grammar right, but spoilers and speculation. So, all right, I think I'll keep this one up in IMDb, and I don't think it's been that secret, much of a secret. But Florence Pugh is supposed to appear in this show at some point, and in the updated trailer, we see a figure in black with these goggles on. It looks a little bit like actually, was it the Night Monkey? I think is the name of the character in Spider-Man, the second Spider-Man. So it's a little bit Night Monkey of an outfit, but this character appears. I'm guessing that is Yelena Belova appearing in the series. So we know that is coming. Curious about how that comes together. I mean, we see from the Black Widow end credits that the well, man, the Julia Louise Dreyfus character sets Yelena on a quest to perhaps hunt down Hawkeye. So we know that is coming. Um, I am guessing that we'll see a Kingpin appearance. I mean, it's kind of hard for it to not happen here, or it'd be surprising for it to not happen. What do you think? Are we going to see the Kingpin? Is he going to feature in, or are they going to introduce some other character that apparently has a very large hand, if we were to believe?
I think this is a great opportunity to introduce the Kingpin character, and I'll be surprised if there isn't, again, at least a quick shot reference. You know, if we don't see a full on face and a full on white suit, I think we'll at least see the heavy hand of the Kingpin on the screen. But then, okay, so we expect that something Kingpin related is coming.
Mhm.
We expect that there has to be some, physical combat towards episode 6, towards the resolution. And then will that be more Kate Bishop
Mhm.
versus the swordsman? Will that be more Hawkeye versus the swordsman? Would there be a second? So maybe it's going to be swordsman and Echo and the Maya Lopez character versus Kate Bishop and Clint Barton. Maybe that's going to be, or maybe we'll see Kingpin involved, and then the Black Widow. So there's so much to wrap up in 3 episodes. It's really exciting, and I have no idea which way they're going with it, but I'm again along for the ride and enjoying it as it goes.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh, it reminds me. I wanted just do the recognition of Zahn McClarnon as the character of Maya's dad. Loved. He's barely. He's what, maybe 3 minutes in the show at best, maybe, and wow, just knocks it out of the park. What a wonderful character. I would like to see if he would maybe appear in the separate Echo series that's coming out. Would love to see more of him as an actor, but also as a character in the show. I don't think that I should have checked in IMDb if he's supposed to be coming later in the series, but I think he's one and done for now. I think that's
very, very outstanding use of a very small amount of screen time for him, and it'd be great to see more of him.
Well, I am multitasking here. He is showing as appearing in 4 episodes, so that is cool. So we should be able to see more of that character then. That will be nice. I think the thing that is saddest for me in looking at IMDb is there won't be another musical number.
Well,
I'm kind
I
of heartbroken about it.
suppose they'll have to find a different way to fill the screen time with something that's maybe just as good in a different kind of a way.
Yeah, and hey, Blue Sasquatch, thanks for joining. Post in the comments your thoughts about this show. Other things, future plot points wise. Oh, that you can learn from IMDb. We haven't talked about the dad character, right? So the dad, appears to die in the first episode. There is no body, which we know from any kind of movie. Just like what we said, what I was saying about the swordsman. It seems so down the middle that dude is the one who killed Armand. That is probably not dude, but there's no body with Kate Bishop's dad.
When you
And
get
on
a tombstone,
IMDb,
you
is
get a
supposed
tombstone without a body. Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
well in IMDb, he has 4 credits. So yeah, I assume we're going to see him in some fashion. Maybe it's a flashback. Don't know, but he is supposed to appear in the back half of the show.
And again, it was attributed that their residence was intergenerational from his family, that there's some manner of wealth that is within his family then. So, but how is that wealth acquired? So maybe they're setting up that, the Kate Bishop's mom kind of has not the best choices, or ends up with one villainous partner at one point in time, and then a second villainous partner later on in her life.
Yeah. Yeah, I have to believe that the answer to one of those outstanding questions about this money problems thing and how it somehow evaporates has to do with tying back into the underworld with the bishop security platform, right? They're able to monitor everybody, it seems, and do some really creepy things. They got data on a lot of people. It seems everybody. It seems so that could be used for evil purposes. So I'm assuming that, and I would not be surprised if the person who killed Armand was actually the kill order was from the mom. I would not be surprised about that kind of turn.
Oh, that would be very interesting.
That could be very dark, but yeah. All right, other things that we should talk about in terms of future plot points. There's a lot that still needs to be wrapped up. We'll see if there's a resolution between. Will Echo realize that Hawkeye is Ronin? Or was that even Ronin that killed the dad? I think all that'll come together. Other plot points that you expect to see happen in the second half that you know
Well,
of,
to
that you
go
can speculate on.
beyond the beyond, or farther
Either way.
out into the future. So now we've established Kate Bishop,
Mhm.
tying to the WandaVision series. There were her two sons,
Mhm.
and then jumping around back to Ant-Man, his Scott Lang's daughter is Cassie Lang.
Mhm.
Uh, and so there are just so many pieces coming together where we can, I don't know at what point in time, but expect to see either through Disney Plus or exclusive theater release for the Young Avengers. So I had just watched somebody else's channel, and they did a review on the Young Avengers in the comics. So the friendship between Kate Bishop and Cassie Lang, who at first they were calling her Ant Girl, which is just kind of a funny name also, and that wasn't the permanent name that she kept, but just a girl Hawkeye and Ant Girl as a kind of a, as does this current Hawkeye series have some fun buddy cop element, and again rookie and veteran, and she's trying to, like the college student she is, she's trying to ask a well-educated question to show her knowledge to Hawkeye, and he's brushing it off. He's not having it. So as is that dynamic fun to watch, however far out into the future it might be. I'm really looking forward to seeing some Cassie Lang and Kate Bishop banter on one screen or another.
Yeah, that would be huge. That would be huge. It definitely feels like they're assembling the pieces, the rebuilding of the effectively the reboot of the MCU, right? If we've taken Iron Man off the table, and Chris Evans as Captain America off the table, um, Thor at least I guess still around, Black Widow dead, that we're reassembling these characters so that they do have that option to do the West Coast Avengers or the Young Avengers, other variants of the Avengers. Yeah, uh, I think it's good. I think it's good, and I would love to see that connection, as you said.
Well, since you're going to call out West Coast Avengers, I don't know if you knowingly set me up for this, but to mention briefly, there's the cell phone call early in episode 1 while she's doing the bell tower arrow prank, and the name on the cell phone says Greer. So Greer is in the comics. Not too many people have the name Greer in general, but it's Greer Grant Nelson, is the civilian name of the Tigra character, and
Oh,
Tigra is for a brief time in the Avengers, and then one of the founding West Coast Avengers. So again, that might be a nugget or a setup for the Tigra character to surface at some point in the future. Maybe even they might put her in the Young Avengers, or there might be a different depiction of her, or they might not follow it up at all. Again, it's just interesting how many different pieces they take and repurpose or reintegrate.
gotta love that, right? That they have that foresight or the bench to be able to just insert those little nuggets so those things can resurface itself, right? The mention of Stephen Strange in Winter Soldier. Um, uh, Doctor Strange not even on the roadmap at that time, right? Or so it seemed. But you could drop those little nuggets and could plant the seeds for future payoff. Yeah,
Exactly. So now, after having seen Doctor Strange, when you go back and watch the earliest reference to him, oh, look how they did that.
yeah.
So I would anticipate they will continue that same loop and that same cycle.
Very nice. All right. Anything else that we should cover that we have missed thus far? I'm looking at my notes off the side here.
As am I. Just some other, just I think some other little tribute pieces when the trench, not the trench, whatever. When the bad guys
Yeah,
were,
Tracksuit Mafia.
thank you, Tracksuit Mafia. When the bad guys, the Tracksuit Mafia, were when they had captured Hawkeye, that was definitely again a payback or a revisit of Black Widow when she was in the interrogation chair and the cell phone call comes and she's like, "These idiots are giving me everything that I'm looking for. They don't even know it." So I think that was a tribute to that Hawkeye was using that same technique of allowing yourself to be captured again in a somewhat similar to a James Bond kind of a setup, whereas then you turn the tables and you so and then here comes so that was a really neat thing unto itself, but then they weave in the Kate Bishop crashing through the ceiling, making the rookie mistake at that. So I thought that was really again just one of the many enjoyable pieces. And then earlier from that, just when Hawkeye, Clint Barton says to her, "There are no trick arrows," and then shortly, not immediately after, but shortly after that, they're into the quiver, selecting which trick arrows to utilize. So then let me set up. So then one of the arrows says PIM on the tip.
Oh
And
man.
what was your take on that use of the PIM technology?
Oh, that whole sequence. The reason why I think episode 3 is probably my favorite out of all of the Disney Plus series as a single episode. I think it is truly my favorite. And I don't think it's the recency effect either that we just saw it that causes it. It's the most MCU feeling where you have the amazing origin story for Echo told in a very short span of time, but so much depth to that character. And then you've got that entire chase sequence that's just amazing. It's like Children of Men, the movie Children of Men. I think that's the title, where it's all one shot. It's just amazing, just a mind blowing sequence. And then you get the arrow bit where she's firing the arrow up into the sky, and it's like, what the heck is this? That's completely implausible. Why would she do that? And then it comes down, boom, with the PIM arrow. Unbelievable. Absolutely loved it.
You could say that's probably referencing a lot of things. I don't want to, I'm not that well versed in the Errol Flynn and other Robin Hood depictions, but in the classic Disney animated.
Yes, no,
We're
Mr.
recommending.
Blue, Mr. or Ms. Blue, you should definitely check it out. Yeah.
So in the Disney animated Hawkeye, there's the trick of the shoot the one arrow up and then shoot the second arrow after it to redirect it. So there's referencing that. And again, Hawkeye and Ant-Man aren't a well utilized partnership throughout the years of comics or on the screen, but the callback to again what was done in the movies, which was the callback to that classic Avengers. I believe it's issue 223, where the cover is just Hawkeye aiming the arrow tip at the audience, and there's Scott Lang holding onto the tip of the arrow. So just the two great tastes that go great together. Unexpected Men in Tights to Mel Brooks, absolutely. Uh, just you get a lot of good material when you start with the base of let's put Hawkeye and Ant-Man together, or Hawkeye and Pym Tech together, and see where it goes.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I really I hope that the vibe of episode 3 will carry through to the remainder of the series. Had we actually done this talk like last week after the first and second episode, I would think I would have been a little bit more, not as enthusiastic about it. But with by this episode, I'm just blown away. I'm just blown away. Want to see more of Hawkeye. Want to see more of Kate Bishop. Definitely want to see more of Echo. Very, very excited and interested here. Yeah, you might want to take a walk or something. Blue sounds like get some fresh air or something. All right. Before we wrap it up here, Ghostbusters Afterlife. Do you plan to see it, Mr. C?
Definitely, I would. The long story short, it was on the agenda and it got reworked. I very much look forward to again. It's for people who give spoilers right here. I've been looking to avoid
Yeah,
spoilers of it,
hard.
but yeah, that's definitely on the horizons.
Okay, yeah, definitely worth seeing it. I saw it in the theater and uh, loved it. I do think it has some story issues, but if you are a fan of the first two movies, I'm just acknowledging that the 2016 version does exist. But if you're a fan of the first two movies, you will definitely love Ghostbusters Afterlife. Yeah, I was literally crying at the beginning and at the end of the movie. So definitely worth checking out. Uh, all right. Well, thank you so much for joining. And if you are watching later, post in the comments because we love to hear from you and love to hear your thoughts about the about the show. And oh no, oh man, come on, Blue Sasquatch, it'll be all right. We'll give you the virtual hug right here. It's going to be all right. It's going to be all right. Anyways, oh no, wait a minute. See, now we definitely need to talk about it at some point because I hear that. I hear that. There are some issues, I think, with, I don't want to spoil it, I don't want to completely derail it, but yeah, I do think there are some issues with Ghostbusters Afterlife. Definitely. It gets oddly slow in the show. Um, but I think it figures itself out at the end. But yeah, you have to see it, Mr. C. And all of you, it's still available in theaters. Definitely worth a watch. And yes, as always, to bring it all together, whether it's in the urinal or if it's in the Ghostbusters universe, yeah, don't cross the streams. All right. Thanks so much, Mr. C.
Thank you. Thanks for everybody for checking us out. Borrowing from some other channels from the Cartoonist Kayfabe people. Check out more comics. Get more comics. Keep yourselves entertained in the good way these days. And thanks for everybody for hanging out with us.
Yes. All right. Thanks so much for watching. Please take a moment if you haven't already. Like, share, and subscribe. As always, thank you so much. This has been the Fanboy Cantina. Take care.